Welcome to the latest national exam for students whose major is arts. With a lot of requests coming from my students as well as some other students, we take this initiative to give you, let's say, some corrections of the 2020 exams in terms of comprehension, language, and writing. So let's get started with comprehension text. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime developed a new program called Learn Up, Live Up. The aim is to engage children and youth from marginalized areas in sport-based activities and essential life skills in order to protect them from crime, violence, and drug use. Through this program, sports coaches and teachers can teach children valuable life skills such as resisting social pressures to engage in delinquency, dealing with stress, and communicating effectively with friends. Girls and boys take part in various fan games, physical activities, and discussion sessions and sharing experiences. The course consists of 10 sessions of 1 hour each over several weeks. The training program was first piloted in Brazil in the 2017 and will be implemented in numerous countries across the world, including Africa, Central Asia, the Middle East, and South Africa. The program has already trained some 150 coaches and trainers in Brazil, Kyrgyzstan, and South Africa. The trainers have trained nearly 1,000 youngsters. The training program, already available in different languages, is in the process of being extended to many other countries. In the Latin America, which is officially rated as the most violent region in the world, many programs have been successfully implemented in areas where thousands of young people are affected by crime or armed conflicts. In La Esperanza in El Salvador, the local football team was reinforced and a new field was built. It has become a safe place where local children can learn the values of sports and respect. Previously, this neighborhood was one of the most dangerous, but thanks to the work with young people, we have managed to reduce delinquency by nearly 90%, says Carlos Gomez, coordinator of the football school in La Esperanza, in Colombia, where the armed conflict has killed more than 200,000 people in 60 years. The Soccer with a Heart initiative has helped over 2,000 children from poor countries and those at risk of violence. The initiative assists them to have access to new opportunities and to develop skills to confront difficulty and coexist in peace. Over the last year, the administration of the Lean Up, Live Up program have been made to a various audience, including policymakers in different countries and participants in sports tournaments in South Africa and Kyrgyzstan. In addition, UNODC arranged sports events and roundtable discussion on peace building with sports experts and young people in many countries all over the world. That's great. This is the first comprehension questions which requires from you to base all your answers on the text. The first one, choose the right answer. The text is about introducing sports program in Latin America, training programs for football coaches, reducing violence through sports programs. Of course, the main purpose of Live Up, Lean Up programs is to reduce violence or crimes among young people in different countries, or especially, let's say, the marginalized area. So the first question is going to be C, like reducing violence through sports programs. Are these sentences true or false? Justify. The Lean Up, Live Up program was introduced by UNODS. Of course, it's true and it exists in the first paragraph, which we will find that the United Nations offices on drugs and crime are supporting this program, which is Lean Up and Live Up, as true. So the first sentence is true. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime developed a new program called Lean Up, Live Up. That's great. The aim of Lean Up, Live Up programs is to teach children school subjects. Of course, this is not about school subjects, it's about sports and let's say different fun activities. That's why we are going to consider this question as false, alright? So the aims of this program is to engage children and youth from marginalized areas in sports-based activities and essential life skills in order to protect them from crime, violence, and drug use. So the main purpose here is sports-based activities and essential life skills. Okay? Third question. The program was first tested in El Salvador. This question, of course, is false because in the paragraph 4 or 5, I think they just try out in El Salvador, right? So the answer here is false. Why? Because it was first piloted in Brazil, alright? Question C. Answer the following questions. Which areas are targeted by the Learn Up, Live Up program? In addition to sport, what other activities do children do in the Learn Up, Live Up program? How did the football team in La Esperanza benefit from the program? So the first question, which areas are targeted by the Learn Up, Live Up? Of course, it's poor areas, or what we call it marginalized areas. So if you put one of these sentences, it will be accepted, either to say it targets marginalized areas or it targets poor communities. That's great. Number 2. In addition to sport, what other activities do children do in Learn Up and Live Up programs? Here, children take part in various fun games, physical activities, and discussion sessions and sharing experience. So we have 4 elements that is based on this program. We have fun games, physical activities, and discussion sessions and sharing experiences. That's good. How did the football team in La Esperanza benefit from the program? So the local football team was reinforced and a new field was built. So we have 2 key points. We have that this team was reinforced, and the second thing is a new stadium, alright, where this team can play and build these kind of sportive activities or sportive skills. That's wonderful. Complete the following sentences. Many people were killed in Colombia due to. Here, you are required to write something that is based on reasons, or what we call it cause and effect. Alright? And due to requires you to put noun. This is an important thing that you are going to keep into your mind. It looks like the phrase, what we call it, because of. Alright? So we are. So the answer must be here. Many people were killed in Colombia due to, let's say, somehow a conflict, or let's say a crime or armed conflicts. Alright? So the objective of the Soccer with a Heart initiative is, you are going to put here verb, infinitive. Why? Because we have this kind of expression, either, in other words, to be plus to, which is expressing purpose, alright? The purpose of this initiative, Soccer with a Heart initiative. And the answer here is to assist children to have access to new opportunities and to develop skills to comfort difficulty and coexistence in peace. Here, maybe some of you will put them. So as the person who correct, he will understand this is represents children, alright? That's why he will take it as true. Pick out from the text phrases or experience which show that. Thanks to the program, La Esperanza has become less dangerous. Here we have 2 kind of expressions. If you put one of them, they will be correct, like we have here. Thanks to the work with young people, we have managed to reduce delinquency by nearly 90%. Or, it has become a safe place where person can live and coexist in peace. So both of them are considered true. Okay, you can choose just one of them. Politicians and officials in many countries were interested in the Learn Up and Live Up programs. Here we have 2 key points. We have politicians and officials in many countries. Alright? So that's why in the text you will find this kind of words that represents the same meaning we have in the paragraph number 6. So the answer here must be, so we put the Leave Up program has been made to a various of audiences including policymakers in different countries. That's what I have said before. So we have two key points. We have politicians and officers, many countries, okay? So we have policymakers, it represents this one, alright? And different countries represent these things, alright? That's good. Find in the text words or phrases that mean almost the same as. Participate, competitions. So in the first answers, I have noticed that some people, or let's say some websites that are managed by people, put a mistake in the first one by putting the words engage, and this is a mistake. So the answer here is to take part, okay? Keep this one into your mind. Whereas the second, competitions, it's a noun, okay? For the first one, it's a verb. That's why we put a verb. Whereas the second, which is a plural noun, we are going to put a noun here. And it, of course, it should be a plural. So the answer here is tournaments, as we have here, S. What do the underlined words in the text refer to? The program, them. The program here, of course, is the main idea that we are talking about in this text is lean up, leave up, okay? Whereas them, it refers to children. As you may find it, it exists in this place in the text, alright? That's good. Let's move to the language side. Fill in the gaps with the correct words from the lists. Venice is an Italian city which is famous. Its canals. Of course, to have an adjective here, famous, it goes with, let's say, a preposition for, okay? And about when we talk about something, and I do prefer to use for, okay? This is the correct answer. We say Venice is an Italian city which is famous for its canals. They have a very large gardens. Kids can play safely. Here we are going to describe an activities that exist in a particular place, alright? So some of students may put which. Here when we are going to describe, for example to say they have a very large garden which is beautiful, but we are going to describe an activity that happens in this particular place or that takes place in this particular place, alright? That's why we are going to use where, okay? Whereas who, impossible, because we don't have any person. But some students will be confused about this one and this one. And I explained it in a few seconds ago. That's good. That's why we are going to put, they have a very large garden where kids can play safely. Could you? The music is too loud. Of course, if you are going to turn off, that means the music is not playing yet, okay? For example, if we are going to say turn on, it's something that is off and you are going to, let's say, to activate it to work, right? And the music is already working. That's why we say it is too loud, okay? And whereas turn around is to put, for example, a mark and turn around it. Okay, so the only thing that is talking about the volume is to turn down. So could you turn down the music? It's too loud. When we arrive at the top of the monument, we see the whole city. Here we have a condition that happens in the past. Okay, so as we said, when we arrived. That's why we are going to use an ability in the past. Alright? So we are going to use could. Whereas can, it's a possibility in the present. Whereas must refers to something deduction or let's say somehow strong deduction or let's say an obligation. Okay? In other words, the only options that we have here is could. Good. Fill in the gaps with appropriate words from the list. Empower, private, access, media, justice, challenge, education. Finding a job is a real for many young people all over the world. Many associations are implementing projects to women, especially in rural areas. Smartphones have facilitated communication through social apps. Nowadays, more and more public and businesses uses cameras for safety reasons. Here we are going to help you by understanding things that exist in this exam. So the first thing here we are going to put a noun, whereas here verb, here a noun, and this place it's an adjective. All right. So let's understand first words. Here we have empower is verb, private adjective. Okay, I will put a. Access it's a verb, media noun, justice of course noun, challenge is also noun. So all of them are noun, even education. So the first one we are going to eliminate all the other things for nouns. So the condition here for finding a job is, of course, not justice or media, but of course challenging, okay? Whereas the second, many associations are implementing projects. So we have two verbs. To access women, of course, no. We can access to a particular source, to, let's say, to have an access to a particular school or to a particular company. Okay? Whereas here we are going to use empower is to make them strong, right? To empower women, especially in rural areas. Okay? Smartphones have facilitated communication through social. Of course, some of you would put an adjective. I agree with you. So it's right. And the sentence what we are going, or the phrase that we are going to put here, it should be a noun phrase which is expression as an adjective, right? Which is defining, let's say, the apps, or what we mean, the application or the software. And to talk about something social, we are going to understand that is about social media, okay? Nowadays, more and more public, of course we have public. This is a good phrase to understand that we are going to put here the opposite of public, which is, let's say, private, right? We see here nowadays more and more public and private businesses uses cameras for safety reasons. Put the words in brackets in the correct forms. Culture for All is an organization which helps the government to implement programs. Here we have a noun, okay? And nouns is usually followed by an adjective, okay? That's why we are going to put culture into an adjective. Here we have adult, and literal is a verb. So we are going to put here noun. Whereas culture is a noun, we are going to change it into an adjective. That's why we are going to say cultural, right? To implement cultural programs, also sensitize citizens to the importance of adults' literacy, okay? Which helps them to read and write. There was a power cut while we watched a film on television last night. When we got to the theater, the play already started. I called Roger at 9 last night, but he wasn't at home. I think by the end of the 2020, scientists developed a vaccine for COVID-19. Good. So the first key point that we are going to get helped with them, we have why, alright? And we have last night. Even the verb here was. So the expression that we are going to put here is the past continuous in terms of the verb, let's say watch. That's why we are going to say there was a power cut while we were watching a film on TV last night. When we got to the theater, the play already started. Here I remember students talking about the first action. That's great, this is a good point. But I recommend to use some, let's say, time expressions as we have here when. Okay? And we have got. And as I said before, our mind should be divided into two, let's say, two parts. We have after, okay? And we have before in the next part, or let's say in the second part. Here before. So in the second, we have what we call a when. Okay, so in second exists here. And the tense that is followed here, we put subject plus verb simple past as we have here, okay? then object or complement, okay, then comma, subject, plus head, which is the past perfect tense, verb past participle, okay. And because we have already here, we're going to put it into this place. That's why we are going to say, when we got to the theater, the play had already started. I called Roger at 9 last night, but he wasn't at home. Here we talk about specific actions that happens into past time, let's say, or let's say last night, better. So the action stopped at 9. That means we are going to put here, let's say, past simple. We say, I called Roger at 9 last night, but he wasn't at home. I think by the end of the 2020, scientists develop a vaccine for COVID-19. Here, let's say by the end of this year, let's say by December of the 2020, okay? And this express future actions that will happen in a particular period, all right? That's why we are going to use here future perfect, okay? So the form of future perfect is will plus have plus verb plus participle. Develop here is regular verb, that's why we are going to use just let's say ed. Scientists will have developed a vaccine for COVID-19. This is the last part of language side, okay? Rewrite the sentence as indicated. We have invited many African ministries to the conference. Many African ministries. Here, as I said before, in terms of other mock exams or national exams, whenever we have an object that is put directly after, let's say, the verb of the sentence, we are talking about passive voice, okay? Keep this one into your mind. And because we have many Africans ministries, we are not going to change the auxiliary have here. We are going just to add the verb to be into a past participle of, let's say, the verb to be should be into the form of the main verb here, which is invited. That's why we are going to put it into past participle, okay? So in this sense, we say many African ministries have been invited to the conference by them. Here I put by them because it's option, you can put it or not. If I were you, I would go on diet, Ahmed told me. Here is a report speech, but we have an expression of an advice. That's why we are going to put here, that's why we have an expression of advice here. Ahmed advised me. So in this sense, if I were you, it's gonna be deleted, okay? And we will put the to here and we complete the sentence. We say, Ahmed advised me to go on diet. The hotel was cheap, but it was comfortable. Despite, here we have, let's say, the two elements or let's say two expressions to put in this sentence. Either to put the verb plus ing, okay, or the fact that, and we put subject. So imagine we put here the fact that, subject, verb, and object, all right? And keeps the sentence as it is, and we'll delete, let's say, but, and we put comma here, as the sentence is written here. So despite the fact that the hotel was cheap, it was comfortable, or despite being cheap, the hotel was comfortable, okay? Put the following exchange into the correct order. Yes, sir, how can I help you? I am sorry, I will change it. I order a pizza, not a hamburger. Excuse me. It is a discussion of, let's say, between a client and the waiter. And there is a kind of, let's say, a misunderstanding in which that the waiter brings something that doesn't fit the order of that person. Let's say that person is you, okay? So we are going to choose the first thing that we can understand it from this dialogue. So if you order something and you come up with another things, which is the first thing that you are going to say? So of course you say, excuse me, all right? This is the first. And the waiter will come to you and he will say, yes, sir. How can I help you? This is the second. Okay? and you will make a complaint about the order that you have told him, and maybe he didn't hear you or something else. And the third here is this one. This is a kind of complaining. And I'm sorry, I will change it, is when you accept the complaint, okay? As we have here, excuse me, yes sir, how can I help you? I order a pizza, not a hamburger. I'm sorry, I will change it. Good. Complete the following exchange appropriately. Nancy, I have just lost all my personal documents on the bus. What should I do? Emma, so here you are going to advise Nancy to do something, either to inform the police about the missing things, okay? Or let's say to put a paper on the same bus resembling the idea that she has lost all her personal documents, okay? So I recommend here to use the simple things. So the expression that we are going to use here in this sense is like this, okay? I advise you to put a paper about the missing documents as well as your phone number in the bus. James, who is the most famous comedian in Morocco? So here you are going just to give an opinion, alright? And we are not going to take into consideration that either you are right or wrong. That's why you are going to say, I think that Hassan al-Fard is the most famous comedian in Morocco. Some of you would choose Bassou. Other, let's say, will prefer to use other actors. So the person here that is famous, it's based on your interest. For example, if you are interested in a particular comedians, you are going to put it here without any change, alright? That's good. Here is the writing task. Complete the following paragraph. There are many things we can do to be good citizens. For example, here we have controlling idea, which is many things, okay? And the topic is to be a good citizens. So the thing that you can offer in this context is to give the actions, or let's say the behavior of the person that resemble the citizenship in a particular community, all right? So I do prefer to use some key points like to respect others, to tell the truth, to be involved in different voluntary work, okay? And so on, okay? So the things that I put in this paragraph or in this exam, it's like this. There are many things we can do to be good citizens. For example, we should be honest and trustworthy. In other words, we should tell the truth even though it may hurt ourselves or other people we love. In this sense, as the famous quote states, truth is like a surgery, it hurts but cures. Besides, we must respect the rights of other people and to do our duty towards our community, which involves their beliefs, religions, and cultures in general. Furthermore, we should be aware of responsibility for our actions. For example, we should be involved in the development of our community, such as volunteering in different activities. Finally, being a good citizen requires doing simple things. Telling the truth, respect others, as well as taking responsibility. Okay? So, as I said before, the topic is, or the topic sentence is this one, alright? So the supporting details started from this place until here. And you will find there is, let's say, an idea, okay, or a support sentence developed by a major one, okay? So the first one we are talking about to be honest. The second one is the respect of the rights of other people. The third is to be aware of your responsibility, okay? And for the first time we developed it by a famous quote, okay? In the second, we give some examples such as beliefs, religions, and cultures. Whereas the last one is to be responsible for your actions, such as developing the countries, or let's say, for example, if you have done something wrong, you will somehow take your duty to do it or to change it into the right, let's say, behavior, okay? So this is a good point. For the last things, I put a conclusion which is the same as the idea that is discussing here, but in a, let's say, summary way. Okay, that's good. Move on to the next task. Write an email to your English friend describing a Moroccan wedding ceremony you have attended recently. These cues may help you time, place, guest, cloth, activities, habits, traditions, food, gifts, music. Dear Mary, here somehow you will find you have attended recently. I agree with you in this sense. So you will choose a particular time that is, for example, let's say yesterday, last week, like this. But because of the circumstances that, let's say, the whole world is experiencing in terms of coronavirus, I take an experience that happens in last year. Okay, as we have an example here. So let's get started with the first one, but please keep in your mind this is informal letters or informal email. Okay, which is requires from you not to write your name or sign the letters. So if you do it, it will be a mistake from you. Keep these things. And the first thing we are going to put here is the intro, whereas the second part is the body and enclosure of the email. Okay, so let's get started with the correction. Hello, I hope you are doing fine, and I am glad to write to you this message about Morocco wedding ceremony which I attended last year in Salah. The ceremony, which was in a lovely and decorated place, was amazing from the start to the end. There were over 100 of guests coming from different places in Morocco. The male guests were wearing either jalaba or modern suits, whereas many female ones were wearing Morocco kaftan or tkshita. All eyes were directed most of the time to the groom or the bride because of their attractive clothes or appearance. The first thing that my mom and I did was to greet and congratulate them as well as their parents. After that, we sat around a table of 10 people where we were served mint tea and different types of cookies. For food, there were varieties of, sorry, here it's of, okay, of dishes, but I preferred to eat pastilla. While eating, our ears loved the melody and the music of Sha'bi, Sahra, as well as Marrakesh, for example, songs. I hope one day you will be with us in such Morocco wedding, with the best wishes. So, enclosures here is quite different from, let's say, formal. I use just a simple words, okay, like with the best wishes. And the enclosure here, I'm wishing for this friend like Mary. Let's say you can take whatever names you like. And I put, let's say, the year when I attend this ceremony and the place, which is Salah. And I describe a little bit the place, like saying was a lovely and decorated place. And talking about the 100 of guests and their originality. For example, in Morocco, you will find maybe Tangier, Meknesi, Sahrawi, and so on, and describing their clothes. Okay, end up with some of the traditional things that we used to do in the ceremony of wedding, and we talked about the tea that we are served, like, and the cookies, and we end up, let's say, with the music. Okay. So this is a good example or the good illustrative email that you can say in terms of a Morocco wedding. Okay, that's good. This is the end of correcting this national exam for art students. So we hope you have done something great in your exam and thank you for your watching. Hope you all the best.